It's the beginning of January 2018, so it's time for another monthly update video in which I talk about what we've got going on in January and what went on in December. I always like to begin by bringing up three big things that I would like to call your attention to. So, big thing number one, right now you've got the opportunity to vote on which four authors I'm going to add to my monthly series that I do here in the Milwaukee area, but which I put on YouTube, Worlds of Speculative Fiction. So the link for that is below. I'll talk more about that in just a bit. The second big thing is connected with that. I've actually created a free online class in the Reason IO Academy, Worlds of Speculative Fiction. If you want not only access to the videos in an organized fashion, but the handouts and other things that I'm adding in there that'll make for a much better experience, you want to enroll in that class. And again, it's free. The third big thing that I'm particularly happy about as well is that since we've passed the particular level of support, what we call a milestone in Patreon last month, I started doing monthly AMA, that is Ask Me Anything sessions. So I'm going to continue doing that through 2018. Those are the three big things. Now let's talk about the year that passed and the year ahead. So what went on and what did we do in December? It was kind of a winding down month, as it usually is, because there are the holidays, my kids come to visit, there's Christmas concerts to go to, all sorts of other things, parties. And in addition to that, of course, I had the usual things of an academic semester because I was teaching 3 classes this last semester, almost a full-time load, actually a full-time load in many universities, in addition to doing everything else. So those classes were coming to a close. I didn't do quite as many talks as in recent months, although that's setting the bar pretty high. I did do an online webinar and seminars on Epictetus, choice, and character, and those went quite well. We finished up our year 2 of the World of Speculative Fiction monthly talk series by looking at Octavia Butler's Xenogenesis or Lilith's Brood trilogy. Some really great discussion. You can see the video for that down below. I held the first AMA, that's Ask Me Anything session, at the very end of the month once we crossed a particular threshold for monthly pledges from Patreon. If you don't know what Patreon is, it's a crowdfunding site, and it's used by creators like me who generate online content, whether it be blog posts, other sorts of writing, comics, or videos and podcasts. So if you like the sort of work that I'm doing and you want a way to support, even if it's just $1 a month, go ahead and click the link below or click the card above, and you can become a Patreon supporter. And there's a lot of cool perks that come with that. Anyway, we passed up the level at which I committed to doing a monthly AMA. So we did it. It went on for about an hour and a half, and I answered a lot of questions. You can see the video for that below. We also did some other online events for my Patreon supporters. I do a philosophy chat, which is exclusive to them. Half Hour Hegel, we also do an exclusive chat, but I do once a month, I do a public Q&A and discussion session. Anybody who's got questions on Hegel can show up and ask. And of course, we had our 2 philosophy pop-ups, one in YouTube Live, one in Facebook Live, focused this time on philosophy, festivals, and holidays. Those were quite fun. What else? Like I mentioned, I finished up classes, so that took quite a bit of time because it was quite a heavy load for somebody who's not a traditional academic anymore. 2 ethics classes, 1 worldviews and values class. By the way, if you're interested in the worldviews and values class, look at the links below. You can take that same class, minus, of course, the paperwork of doing homework and getting graded in the Reason IO Academy. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, check it out. I did some podcast episode recordings and actually also recorded an interview with a national public radio station out west. They called me up and wanted to talk about Stoicism. And some of the podcast episodes actually aired this last month. Two with the Pan Psycast, conversations between the hosts, me and Mark Linsemeyer of the Partially Examined Life. So that was pretty cool. Links to those are below as well. Spent a lot of time doing tutorials. It's the end of the year, so there's a lot of people needing stuff right then. But I also have quite a few regular tutorial sessions with people, anywhere from 1 to 3 hours a week with them. Did some academic coaching. I did a good bit of philosophical counseling, and I did some consulting work as well. As far as videos go, it was not as productive a month as I usually like to hope for, but I did get quite a bit done. I shot 5 half-hour Hegel videos. I got some core concept videos done on Heidegger. I'm just finishing up now with his Plato's Doctrine of Truth. I did also release a previously recorded video of a conversation with Donald Robertson, of modern Stoicism, and really one of the founders of the organization. So that was great. I managed to talk to him a bit at Stoicon about that. And I recorded the AMA session, I recorded the pop-up session on YouTube, and I recorded the webinar, so you can see all of those below if you missed them. What do we have coming up in January? So I'm not going to try to do what I have done in previous years, which is talk about the whole year ahead. I'll do a separate video on that if people are interested enough. If you are, just leave a comment and tell me that you are, and I'll get to that later on. If not necessarily this week, certainly this month, talking about like the big plan for 2018 and all the different projects that I'm working on. All right, so back to January itself. What have we got going on for events? We have just a few face-to-face events, although if you're here in the Milwaukee area, I should mention that I'm also at some other things. Weekly, I'm at the Shut Up and Write session down here at the Stone Creek. But here's the things that we've got coming up. So Wednesday the 10th at 5 o'clock, we're doing our public half-hour Hegel Q&A and discussion session. If you want to know more about that, go to the Half-Hour Hegel Project. I always announce it on the blog. Anybody who's got questions about Hegel, German idealism, even things more broadly in philosophy, we'll answer those questions. We give priority to them. Otherwise, we often meander off into all sorts of discussions about biography and current politics and things like that. On Thursday the 11th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. at the Brookfield Public Library, we are beginning the third year of our Worlds of Speculative Fiction series, and we are going to be talking about one of my favorite authors, a favorite of mine since college. You notice this book is pretty well worn. This is the second copy of it that I've had. This is something that I particularly love, and we're going to talk about Borges' works more broadly, but a lot of the stories are going to be coming directly out of that Labyrinths volume. So if you're here in the Milwaukee area, that is going to be a really great conversation. If not, you'll be able to see the video for it. On Saturday the 13th at 2 o'clock p.m. Central Time, it's a Patreon exclusive event, philosophy chat. I do this monthly philosophy chat for some of my supporters in Patreon, and certain months I open it up to all of my Patreon supporters. So that's an open-ended thing. Anybody can bring up whatever topics they want and see how I address them. We get into some great conversations there. Friday the 19th, again Central Time, 1 o'clock. I'll be holding the next Ask Me Anything session on YouTube Live. So if you're interested in that, mark it on your calendar. You can actually go to the link below and you will find a way that you can set up a calendar reminder for that if you really want to get on that Ask Me Anything session. Thursday the 25th, another local event. If you're here in the Milwaukee area and you've got an interest in Stoicism, we have from 6 to 7 p.m. at the Shorewood Public Library, the MKE Stoic Fellowship. And that'll round up the month for my events. Kind of taking it easy a bit, but February will probably be a bit busier. Got a lot of work going on with Stoicism Today and the Stoic Fellowship. I have assumed the chairship of a committee in the Stoic Fellowship, which looks to be a good bit of work, but also, it's a good service for me to do. I'm still editing Stoicism Today, and I've got some plans for what's coming up. It's a lot of other work on that part, and we're engaged in a lot of discussions about coordinating things like Stoicon and Stoicon X's and all that sort of business. I'll be doing some blog posting this month, more than last month. Of course, I didn't do it a lot last month, so that's setting the bar a little bit low. And I think you'll probably see some of my podcast guest appearances coming out later on this month, and I've got plans to record additional ones with other podcasters. Now, one of the big things that I wanted to talk about, you have the opportunity to vote on the Typeform link below which of the 10 authors that I'm putting into the list, these are the ones who got the most votes or the most interest from my previous query about the Worlds of Speculative Fiction series. You get to select 4 out of that 10, and the top 4 are the ones who I'm going to discuss in the series in the months that are still TBA. So if you want to have a stake in that, you want to get involved. The other thing that's really cool with the Worlds of Speculative Fiction, I decided that I would, create a teachable Reason.io Academy class, which you can sign up for below. I'm still building it out, but I'm happy to have people poking around, looking at the videos. I have a lot of other content to add and upload in the coming weeks or so about these authors. But I've got all 22 of the sessions in there in the free class that you can get into. I'm putting handouts from the sessions. I'm putting additional resources. You've got reading selections, all sorts of cool stuff. So if you're interested in that series, I'll be adding to it, by the way, too, as we do each talk. So when we do the Borges talk, that video is going right in. The handouts that I'm developing are going right in, and everyone will be able to participate in some way. And we might spin some other stuff off from that. I don't know. We'll see what happens if there's sufficient interest. What else? I'm building additional courses in the Reason.io Academy. I haven't had the chance to get to them, but I'm now marking out time to do that. Teaching the 3 classes in academic institutions took a lot of time. Now that I'm not doing that this semester, well, actually until later on, because I'm still teaching for Maris in March, I can finish up that Aristotle categories class. I intend to have that out this month, the Cicero Stoic Paradoxes. I don't think that I will have the Marcus Aurelius Meditations class done by the end of this month, but it will definitely be coming out in February. And I've got a lot of other course content coming out as well. What else? I'm working on some writing projects, some of which are joint, writing projects with other authors, some of which are just my own stuff. And if you go in Patreon and you become a supporter, you get to see little snippets of the stuff that I'm working on, because I let my supporters have a sneak peek into that. Last thing I need to talk about, videos, right? What am I going to shoot this month? So I'm going to get my half-hour Hegel videos done. And maybe actually start getting a little bit ahead on that. That'd be kind of nice. Core concept videos. I'm just finishing up with Heidegger's piece on Plato's allegory of the cave. Then I'm going back and doing some more Cicero videos, basically on the work on duty. And then I'm coming back to Heidegger, and we're going to start exploring the introduction to being and time, talking about some of the key concepts there. I'm hoping to shoot some videos in the existentialism series, not least on this work that I know a lot of people have been waiting for a very long time, Camus' The Rebel. I have a tutorial student that I'm working with on The Rebel as we speak, so that provides me a great opportunity to actually shoot some video about that. So that's what I'm going to do. Got some personal videos coming up this month. And I'm doing at least one interview. I'm going down to Rockford University to interview an old classmate who is a Santayana scholar about Santayana and American philosophy in general, and about a few other things as well. So that'll be a fun conversation. I may record some other ones, but I'll try to release them once a month. And then I've got some book reviews. As I mentioned before in the past, I've got a stack of books people have been sending me, and I need to actually start cranking those out. I only got one of them of the three I wanted to get done last month. So this month, I'm going to start with getting this one done, The Porch and the Cross by Kevin Vost, which is about Stoicism and Christianity. Then finish up this one and review Surfing with Sartre by Aaron James, which is indeed about surfing and is indeed about Sartre. Then I'm going to review this one, Midlife, a Philosophical Guide by Kiran Setia. And if I can get to it, I'm going to review a book by somebody who gave it to me at Stoicon, Chuck Chakrapani's Unshakable Freedom, also about Stoicism. So I've got that going on, and I've also got a few topics that I think are about ready for me to do a Sadler's soapbox rant about. And if I get all of that done, that'll be pretty amazing. Hopefully that will be what happens this month, but you never know, so we'll see. So last thing I'll remind you, if you want to get in on the Worlds of Speculative Fiction vote or class, look at the links below. Really happy to have anybody involved in that, giving me the feedback that'll help about which authors they want to see. And if the author that you really like didn't make it in this year, well, there's always next year, right? It's not as if we're going to end the series or we're going to run out of speculative fiction authors anytime soon. We may be doing this series for 10 years. All right, so have a great month, and hopefully I'll see you at some of the face-to-face or online events, or in one of my social media, or in Patreon. All right,